Hey, what's up everyone? For this video, I'll be sharing an occurrence that happened, I would say, a couple of years ago now. So this happened in the middle of the night, and I would say it was about 9:30 or so. We had a lot of activity that particular night, and I was continuously going outside trying to capture on recording whatever this was. When I had been looking up the sounds, many of them matched Sasquatch sounds. That's what they matched. And so I decided to try to record and see what I would get. They wouldn't do anything when I would record. When I stopped, it started again. You would hear like noises and movements, and I always made this joke. It was just a joke that I would make, but I mean just to have some fun with it. But this is not the occurrence that happened. I mean, this is just going off to another direction. What happened was a truck driver hit something. That's what I'm going to go into here in a moment. But the sound sounded like this little and it reminded me of the South Park episode. And I would say it was like kashing, kashing. And I said,
"It's Scuttlebutt, weaving those baskets. Kashink, kashink." And you can hear him weaving his baskets.
And that's what that reminded me of when I heard the kashink sound, the sound. But I wasn't joking. I mean, I'm not joking at all. But I decided to bring a little bit of humor into this, just to have a little bit of fun as well. But back to what happened that particular night. Later, at about it all started at 8, which was actually quite unusually early for that activity to start. For a while, it was around 9, and then 10 o'clock, 10:30, and then at midnight. But this was at 9:30 or so, and suddenly, the way the road is here is the main highway, and then our property's like this, and the main highway keeps going further than that, but actually our property's further over than that. But then there's this other highway, there's another road, a small road, the old road. And so that was a horrible drawing there. That's not how it is at all, but you get the point. And there's a creek, or there's actually, it's this creek that goes across the road from our property. And the road goes this way, and it's basically like it's a two-way stop, but a four-way intersection. They now have lights across it, like a dangling lights right there, that caution lights, basically telling people to slow down or whatever. It has stopped a lot of wrecks. There used to be a lot more wrecks there. So this 18-wheeler truck and 3 other cars were coming out of there and making a turn. And suddenly what we hear is boom, boom, boom. And then screeching tires after the boom, implying something hit something first and then slowed down. So then the vehicles behind them crashed into them, behind the 18-wheeler truck driver. So I wanted to see what happened, so we drove out there. By the time we got out there, police officers had arrived on the scene, and they were asking questions to the truck driver and the people behind them. And the truck driver, he went on to describe what had happened. I rolled down the windows of the Nissan. At that time we were driving the Nissan, the Xterra, and we sat out there quietly trying to listen to what happened. Of course, police officers won't let you go to the scene. They never do. But I was listening out the window, because we could park on the, like I stated, we could park right here. Is this kind of a road before you get to the highway, and then it goes off to that road, and that traffic can go all kinds of directions. And they can go to the right or the left, and then they can also cross the road and then go toward this way, or that way. So where it happened at was right here, and we were parked right around here watching. We were parked on the side of the road listening. We were listening to see what we could hear, and usually I hear everything, every detailed sound. I don't know what that, speaking of which, I don't know what that sound was in the other room just now, but anyway. The truck driver, the police officer, got out a pad and a paper, a pen pad basically, and a pen to write the things down that had happened. So the truck driver he was just, telling the driver. I heard one time I heard him say one time, he said several swear words, but he said that, he said, "That's some ran out in front of my truck. That's some bee ran out in front of my truck." And that's what I first heard. And then the cop said, "Well, what ran out in front of your truck? What was it?" And he said, "I don't know." He said, "I don't know. It looked like a man." And he said, "So you're saying it was a man?" And I could hear the officer ask him, "So you're saying it was a person?" He said, "No, it was no man. It wasn't a man." And he said, "Well, it had to be something. What was it?" And he said, I don't know. He said, "That blanking thing ran right out front of the truck." And he said it just appeared, and it appeared basically from the sound of the way the driver was talking. See, here's his truck. Here's the truck. And basically, looks like a shoe, but what had happened, or a skate, basically what had happened was, he talked like as he was turning, something just appeared and ran this way. And after he went boom, it jumped over the guardrail and vanished at the creek. Just totally vanished. And the guardrail's right here, and he talked like, and he had hair apparently on the truck. Of course, they just went with a deer. That's what they went with. He said, "I have to write something down." But basically, this is how it happened. And he said, "No, the thing ran right out in front of my truck." And he said it caused him to just stop, or it caused him to just hit it, and then they had to put on the brakes, and then the vehicles behind him hit him. That was not meant to be there. I didn't mean to do that, or that, sorry. But it went, he said that it went, he was like, "That blank thing ran right out in front of my truck. The dang thing ran right in front of," he said it appeared out of nowhere in his truck. And he said the sunbuck went like, that's the way he was talking. He said it went right out in front of my truck. And then he kept saying that. And he said, "Well, what did?" And it went on for a while, and he was talking to him, and he said, "Okay," he said, "it looked like a man, a dark figure, but it was a hairy man." And the police officer said, "A dark man." So he said, "So you're saying it was a black man?" And he said, "No, it wasn't. It was no black man. It was not a man. It wasn't a person." And he said, "So you're saying it was an animal?" And he said, "I don't know what it was, but it stood up and it ran across the road." And he said, when my truck hit it, he said after his truck hit it full force, going at full speed around that corner, he said it jumped over the guardrail and into the woods there and disappeared. And so the police officer just looked bewildered, and he asked the people behind him. He went behind the truck driver and asked the cars behind there, and they confirmed. I could hear them confirming. He said, "Yeah, that's what happened." They said they seen it. They don't know what it was. And so, he was like, that blanking thing ran right in front of the truck, and he said, then this blanking, he was swearing a lot, quite a bit. He called it I don't swear on my channel, so I'm not going to say it, but, and he said that DAMN thing jumped right across that guardrail and disappeared. The officer started shining lights, and immediately, the first thing, when he told him that, he started shining the light, shining his flashlight into the ditch there that leads to the creek. and he was looking for whatever creature or person, as the officer tried to claim it might have been a person, because they had to put something logical down. And so he shined his light, and he didn't see a thing. He seen nothing. He said, there's no sign of anything. They were shining it into the woods. I mean, not the woods, but toward the creek and into the trees and stuff. And they were shining it right there in the ditch, looking to see if there was someone or something there, and there wasn't. Then he looked along the truck, and there was some traces of hair. They should have sent that hair in for analysis, if you ask me, but they just dropped it. I know the BFRO would have probably taken that, even though a lot of their samples come back inconclusive, or part human, part something else, unknown, or they just don't get any results at all. Or a species unknown, something like that, from an unknown species, but that's what happened. And the driver said, he confirmed it and said, yes, that is what happened. He said, well, we're just going to put down it was a deer. I heard them say, let's just say it was a deer. That's what the officer said. Let's just put down a deer. And there was this red hair. There was, I guess, he said, I'm going to assume I'm going to put down because of the reddish brown hair, I guess, and because it's a deer. That's what the officer was saying. The police officer, the cop said, I'm just going to say it was a deer because there's hair on the front of your truck and a spot of blood, I guess, and some hair along the side. He's going to put down that it was a deer. He said, we have to put something down. And he kept arguing with him, saying it wasn't a deer and it wasn't a man, and it was too large and too strong to be a human man, and it wasn't like anything he was familiar with. And yeah, and the people behind him confirmed that happened. Whatever it was jumped right off over the guardrail and over the side and vanished, disappeared. He might have gotten cases like that before, so he just said, look, we're just going to have to put it down as a deer. So, but a deer would not. A deer would be dead. Hit by an 18-wheeler truck at full force, a deer would be dead. Whatever this was able to just be hit by a truck, and then the two vehicles behind it hit the truck, and then at full force, and then cause a loud boom, boom, boom. The vehicles behind him hit the truck, and then it jumped over the guardrail, left a little bit of hair and some blood, and it just disappeared. It vanished. And I had just heard and seen a figure that night moving across our yard toward the road. And they were moving through our yard, through our property, and some more over at the abandoned parking lot, where this restaurant used to be. And it was over there, and it went from there to, I heard some sounds, all kinds of sounds at the creek that were very, very unusual, even for these types of animals. They sounded like jungle animals. Not these types of animals, but these types of beings. These interdimensional beings. It sounded like they were making jungle animal sounds. But I had to add some humor in the beginning. I just decided to do that just to create a light atmosphere and just to just add some laughter as well. But this was a serious situation. My hand to the Lord, it happened as I always state. It was something else to hear this and see it and actually witness it, to hear what they were saying and to watch this. I wonder how many cases like that happen. And then I looked up online and had read where many people, or a few cases where a truck driver had hit something and it disappeared. He was certain it would be there and it vanished. Or witnessing something walk across the road. And there was a truck driver that posted on the local topics forum before it was taken down, before the entire topics was removed. He posted that he witnessed this thing, and he said this large creature, a large, hairy, dark creature, he witnessed it in the headlights, bent over. He said it was eating something or doing something on the other side of the road, in the gully. And he said whatever that was raised up, probably 8 feet. And he said then it just, as it bent down, Then it leapt across the road. That's what the truck driver had stated. And he said it leaped all the way across there, jumped up on the rocks on the ledge there, and just went up the hill. He said like nothing is even possibly capable of that he would have ever even imagined would be capable of doing with such agility. And it disappeared. And he said he parked in the old parking lot. He posted on topics that he posted there to get his bearings before moving on. And I remembered that night seeing a driver park there really quickly. And then I heard a lot of sounds around our area. And then he left. And the driver that was parked there, left as well. But it's something else. It really is. These are my encounters, and these are my personal experiences. I'll never forget them as long as I'm in this as long as I'm in this mind, my right mind, as long as I'm in this consciousness, in this body, I'll always remember them. Unless something happens to my memory, I'll always have these memories. And it's something else. It really is. But another experience that happened. Let's see. This happened. I'm trying to remember which year it was. I can't remember which year it was, but I know that many people reported seeing several things in this area. Some people reported seeing orbs around when the activity took place, and I remember hearing in our yard there was this wood knocking. There's been metal clanking, wood knocking, rocks clanking, sticks breaking, and I looked all of this up before I was even familiar with this, before this even ever crossed my mind, and that's what came up, and I started searching Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and I thought, well, okay, and then my parents finally got to witness it when they were around me. They had never witnessed anything like that until they were around me, until I was around. They never experienced this, or it never even crossed their mind until then. Until I started witnessing it. And I said, man, I wish they could witness it to understand. Because if you don't experience it or witness it, it's hard to understand this. Believe me. But what I witnessed in the yard, it was like an orb. And there was some Sasquatch activity in the yard. It made a noise. Some kind of craft had gone over. And then the orb went shoo, right up into the sky. And then just went on by. It was like it became an orb. I don't know. Sorry, I apologize for the Twitter notification there. But another thing that had happened, another situation is, I mean, we've heard so much. I've heard so much. Maybe I should save it for separate videos. They've been down in the yard, and they were like grunting, growling, and spitting. Like it was like blowing, and they were very large. They hit the side of the building. They were well above the building, and I wish I'd had the spotlight or a headband light then to have spotlighted on them, but all I had was just ordinary flashlights at that moment. Ordinary lights. And that's when a lot of activity took place. That was on a different time than the wreck happened. So, back to the wreck. I'll share all of these in separate videos, because I have so much. I mean, I literally I literally have so much to share that I've experienced. And these are just a few of them. And that main situation that I just shared with you regarding the truck driver, the 18-wheeler big truck hitting whatever this was, and that appeared and disappeared, jumped over the guardrail and vanished and disappeared, and then the two vehicles behind him hitting him, and they all confirmed that this happened, but the police officer just put it down as a deer. He said, let's just say it was a deer. It was a deer. Because he tried to say, so you're saying it was a man? And he said, no, it wasn't no man. He said, it was no man. And he said it was not a person. He said it was a dark figure. So you're saying it was a black man? No, it wasn't a black man. It wasn't a. It was. It looked like a person, but it was not. That's the way the truck driver was stating it. It wasn't. It was no man. And he was like, the sun ran right out of my truck. And then he said the thing just hopped right over the guardrail and disappeared in the woods. And he said he hit it with his truck, and then it just leaped over there and vanished. So that's what happened. And that situation, I'll never forget that situation. Both my mama and I witnessed it. But we rolled down the vehicle window so that I could hear what they were saying. I was listening closely and listening to the police officer, listening to the cop talk to both the truck driver and the other vehicle, the pedestrians, I guess you'd call them, the people in the vehicles behind them, the car and the SUV. So I listened to all of their conversations as best that I could, and that's what I got out of it. It was definitely something else, and this is my personal experience from a couple of years ago, maybe a few years ago. I'll look up in my phone when I wrote it down, and that way I'll look up on my Inkpad Notepad account when I wrote down this occurrence, so I can tell you the date and maybe the time that it happened. So much love and peace, and thank you for watching, or listening, I should say. So please share your own experiences with me, because by putting this out there, I know that other people can share with me as well. And that is a blessing. And it helps a lot of people to know that others are going through the same or similar situations and experiencing similar things. So peace and much love. God bless you all. I hope to speak with all of you again very soon. Peace. Bye.